Can this digital camera, which was released in 2011, still be relevant today in 2025? Stick around and let's find out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Classic Camera Review. Today we're reviewing the Panasonic GF3. And this is a 12 megapixel micro four thirds sensor camera that was released back in 2011. And I got this camera recently and I took it on a few photography trips that I did and took some photos with it. I wanted to see if it was relevant in 2025. And what I mean by that is this a camera that you would consider using in this day and age when there are all these other options out there? Well, one of the things that I found to be very interesting about this camera is its size. You can see here it's quite a small camera, a decent sized screen on the back. There aren't many buttons and controls on here whatsoever, especially on the back there. You can see that there's just kind of a couple of buttons that you would push. And beyond that, there's your shutter button. It does have a dedicated video record button on it as well. And one of the neat features on this, I thought, that some people may or may not like is the fact that it has a built-in flash. And it's not so much that it is a built-in flash. I'll demonstrate right here. I'm gonna push the button and pop up the flash for you. You can see as that pops up, one of the things about this integrated flash that I like that a lot of people might not consider is the fact that it can be manipulated. A lot of flashes are built in and they're on a rigid sort of system there. This one actually has a little bit of flexibility so that you can actually move this back and actually aim the flash straight up into the ceiling. And so what that can do is it can provide a bounce flash light for you in a low ceiling situation to provide a little bit more pleasing of a kind of a fill light, if you will, from the ceiling onto your subject. A lot better than sometimes that harsh straight light that you get. So that was kind of one of my favorite features of this camera, that it has a flash on it that is manipulated like that, that you can move it, at least aim it up and get more of an indirect flash look. Some of the other things about it that I really liked is the fact that it had a touchscreen, although I will say the touchscreen itself is not very easy to use. It's kind of, you have to keep pushing on it, especially if you're used to using an iPhone or just a touchscreen in general. We use them every day on our phones. The touchscreen on here, kind of, you have to hit it a few times. Sometimes it just doesn't respond quite the way. It's not as sensitive as I think what most of us are used to, in 2025. However, it does have that, and the great thing about it is you can touch to focus on certain things. You can also use it to zoom in. You can double tap and zoom in on your subject and kind of just get around on there, kind of like you would on the screen on your phone. Again, it has full manual controls on there. If you go into the menus, you can see that it has program mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, and full manual. It also has ISO, which ranges from 160 all the way up to 6400. Although I would caution, I don't think that I would use it beyond 1600 myself. I did take photos. I was able to set up an auto ISO feature on there in which you can set the maximum ISO that you want. And I set my maximum ISO to 1600. I took a few shots with it and it actually did pretty well. I was able to get some decent photos at ISO 1600. However, I would caution that you probably want in a camera like this to nail your exposure. In older cameras, if you try to push the brightness on those after you've taken the photo, you often get a lot of image noise. And this is definitely a camera that would fall into that category if you go a little astray on your exposure. And if you're not very comfortable using any of the manual controls, you could just put it in one of the auto modes here. It has intelligent auto, and then it has another feature that kind of expands on that. So you could put it in a mode that's a little bit more of a point and shoot, not really think about it and hope for the best. But I did have a little bit of fun. I walked around and I took photos around my place of work as well as my house. And it pulls out some pretty good images. I was able to get some really decent JPEG images of different things, different items. I did notice that the JPEG images were fairly decent. They weren't oversaturated. Usually on older cameras, sometimes you'll find that the JPEGs can come out really saturated and just a little bit too much in certain areas if the camera is overcompensating for something. But in this case, No, the JPEGs were fairly decent, but one strength of this camera, the Micro Four Thirds sensor camera, is the fact that it actually has the ability to shoot in RAW. And so what that means is you can get a RAW file and manipulate that a lot more than you can with a JPEG, and you can get a lot better results out of that. So if you're familiar with how to edit your images and you do edit RAW images, that is where this really shines in terms of getting even more. So if you are a photographer and you do a lot of image editing, this might be an excellent option for you. Other than that, I mentioned earlier, the ability to change lenses on this is a really neat feature. The Micro Four Thirds system has over 100 lenses in the system itself. And one of the really nice things about the Micro Four Thirds system is that the lenses are actively still being manufactured, not only by Panasonic, the manufacturer of this camera, as well as Olympus, but there are some third-party manufacturers out there as well creating lenses for the system. So you can still go out and get them. What's more, there's also other cameras in the system. So if you decide later on you want to get a newer version or just something new, you can easily take your lenses with you and go to a newer camera. So that's one of the things about this. And overall, I would say that because of that in general, I would say that this is definitely a relevant camera in 2025 because you have an active system, you have companies developing equipment for this system, you have a lot of people using the system still, but this camera falls right in line. Now, will it give you the same results as a brand new camera? Of course not. However, being a camera that's 14 years old, you can still get a lot out of it. It still has a lot to offer. So as far as price goes, I found this on the used market for about $130, and that included the lens itself and a bag. I just checked eBay, I checked some of the used websites, and you can find this camera, this model, with or without a lens. It varies, but you can usually find it with prices ranging from about $85 all the way to $130 US dollars. So if you're in the market for a camera just to play around with, maybe you want to move up from something a little bit more simple to something like this, which you can do a lot more on, I definitely advise take a look at the GF3. We're going to give this one a thumbs up. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw here, please give us a like and a subscribe so we can put out more content for you.